This is Josh Hart here for Seconds Out. Delighted today to be joined by Izzy Asif of GBM Sports. Izzy, we've just been saying off camera, always carnage in boxing and a bit of a chaos week for yourself, but a new show announced June 28th, you'll be in Hull. First of all, how is everything? You all good?
Yeah, listen, a bit busy couple of days, but like you said, boxing promotion, you get used to it. It kind of comes second nature, been a bit all over the place. We're trying to sort stuff out and cancellation of one show, moving it across the whole, getting the logistics right, getting the fights right. But we're here, announced it, glad to get it out there. And yeah, a couple of weeks, we're back in action.
We'll get the I guess somewhat negative talk out of the way straight away. Obviously, Galway cancelled, but disappointing to see.
Negative? What's negative?
Um, what went wrong? Obviously, reading through Kieran Molloy's statement that he posted, he said that the decision was made by you guys to pull the show. Obviously, reading your statement, it says that it was out of your control. If you can just
Yeah,
give us any reasons to what happened.
yeah, look. Kim's been a great kind of fighter for. I've enjoyed working with him. I really have. Him and his family have been great to work with. I think he's a super talent. I think he can go on to win major titles. And but we've been together for 18 months. We've had a good relationship. We've invested in him. He's done well for us as well. We're winning good fights, and we thought we had a bit of a long term plan where it didn't happen. We didn't come to no agreement, and fortunately, it was a bit last minute. We invested in that show as well as Kieran investing. We both lost out in many ways because we invested in that show to put press conference on, fly over people there. He's lost out because he obviously put money into training. I understand this aspect, but unfortunately, we couldn't kind of agree something long term, and that's it. But listen, I just want to wish him all the best in his future, and I'm sure he'll become a champion, and I'm sure he'll have some big nights. And I'm a bit disappointed because I really want to go to Ireland. I love the passion of the Irish fans. I really want to get in there and be a promoter that's come there. But look, listen, hopefully, we've just signed Sean McColl on a kind of a long term deal. So hopefully we can have some big nights in Ireland. Again, we've got Tina Bradley as well, and there's one or two other fighters we're looking at out there because I've got great admiration for the Irish fans and the passion they've got for the sport.
And especially, obviously, you can tell that it is a really disappointing thing to see the show cancel, especially when just last week or the week before you were over in
Yeah.
Ireland doing the media day. When did you first have to start really considering what you do with this Galway show? What were the issues that led you to have to cancel it?
Yeah, listen, we were ready to go. Obviously, you don't spend loads of money on going out flying Adam Smith over, flying your media team over, if you don't have complete 100% intention to putting a show on there. Look, just one or two things that come to my kind of awareness quite late, and it allowed me kind of no position, but having to pull the show. We couldn't come to agreement whatever we were trying to decide to do. But listen, I just want to move on now, focus on this whole card. I think we've got a great card, a proper top of the bill. Listen, Kieran Molloy, Case Benjamin, a great top of the bill, but this is just as good, real 50-50, real boxing purist kind of ones will really like this fight. That's going to be massive. Who's going to be king of Europe at light heavyweights?
Absolutely, obviously, you've got to do what's best for the business and go into Hull. First of all, why Hull? Why go over there with this show?
Yeah, obviously, when this cancellation happened, it was all last minute, nothing like preempt or nothing like that. So we have to start looking for a venue. We've always got date locked in with the zone, our broadcasters who are aware of the whole situation. Before we made any kind of official announcement, we had consolidate with the zone, make sure they were happy and aligned with what we're doing because they are our broadcasters, and I've got a great relationship with the zone as well. So I want to make sure we keep them up to date with everything. And uh, there was a show already going on the same date. So a chap called Steve Wood, who's obviously well known in the boxing game, was already doing a card there, and the conversation went like, "Look, you've got the date there. We've got a venue booked already with fighters on the card. We know with a couple of weeks to go, it's hard to just kind of generate a venue or get an undercard that's going to sell and everything." So it's made complete sense. Our production team went out to have a look at the venue, make sure we can do a good TV production there. They were happy. They don't give us a green light for it. They were happy that we can produce a good production like we always do. And it was no brainer. We moved our TV. So unfortunately, we couldn't get everybody on from the Galway card, but that was only because the card's being shared. It's not a full, even though it's a GBM card, the undercard is going to be people that Steve's already committed to on that show. So that's how we're kind of mixing the card.
Absolutely. And how quick was the turnaround from having to cancel Galway to having everything sorted for Hull? How quick was that turnaround period?
About 48 hours to completely get everything wrapped up. Yeah. We just had to move. There's non-stop in this game. Look, promotion's a tough business. It's a really tough business, especially like when I'm not getting the same kind of funding as some of the other investment as some of the top promoters. And there's a lot of personal investment gone into this, so I've got to be really careful about any big moves. I do any moves like that, I've got to really think about it. It can impact us massively if I'm not doing the right thing. So Hull was the right move for us, after the cancellation of Galway, which obviously we're all disappointed about, everybody in the team. But look, this is boxing, and sometimes these things happen. I just want to move on from it. I want to wish Kieran. I generally like you see sometimes fallouts with people and like disputes, disagreement. I generally hope him the best in the future, and he deserves it. And he's got a great family around him. His dad's a good man. Over the conversation with like a few days ago after the cancellation, they understand where I'm coming from. But yeah, we just look. Hull's a massive night for us now. Now Hull's like we're a really busy 3 years as a promoter, and this is like one of them fights now where we've got another title fight with constantly putting good fights on, constantly putting good shows on. Comes with a pressure and almost expectation from people, and there's another one. And getting Shaquille Thompson and Sean McComb were really important for me. Shaquille, I've kept saying how I feel like he's one of the most dangerous middleweights in the world. I feel like he beats most middleweights in this country right now. He's ranked number 5, but number 7 with the WBO, 8 with the IBF, something along them lines. And I think he's a real serious challenge. And getting him and Sean on, as well as obviously Huey and Shaq Pitchers and Brad Ray for top of the bill.
Before we come on to the undercard fights that you mentioned, it's only right we talk about that main event, the light heavyweight, almost cursed fight. We thought we were going to lose it again.
Yeah,
You've been able to keep that on. When you look at all the like title fights that you've put on with GBM, would you say this is the most evenly matched 50-50 fight you've ever put on so far?
yeah, possibly. Look, we've had some great fights over the years. We've been putting titles, world titles, British titles, European titles, Commonwealth titles. We've done a lot of, in the space of 3 years as a promoter, invested hard in the fighters and the fights. This is up there with as a 50-50 kind of real split opinion where this is going to go. I get asked a lot behind the scenes, what do you think, Izzy? And I really genuinely don't know if it's going to be Shakan Pitters on the ball like it was last time, too heavy, too big for Brad Ray, or is it going to be a fresher, more hungry, Brad Ray who really wants this opportunity like this? He's had a lot of bad luck. So I think it's a real 50-50. Obviously, we've got a contract agreement with Shakan Pitters, but as you know, I'm in the business of putting good fights on, and whether it's my fighters risking their belts or risking their loss, so be it. We're in the entertainment business, and we'll always continue to put good fights on top of the bill. And this is another example.
Obviously, looking through the undercard of fighters that you've got, Sean McComb, nice to see Sean obviously making his debut with you guys, but also, I guess, restarting his career here. Obviously, it's been a long time out now. Last time out for him was that really highly controversial split decision defeat to Arnold Barboza Jr., who we've seen what he's gone on to do. What's the
Yeah.
long-term plan with Sean? Because he's proven he's a world level fighter. Is that your guys' plan now to get him back to that
Yeah,
level?
yeah, absolutely. Look, Sean's a great example. He's committed to me long term. And my simple method is you commit to me long term, I commit to you long term. I can't afford to commit to somebody that's not going to give me long term. And Sean's given me, he's given me a long term plan. He's given me, his dedication. I'm going to give him his dedication back. And he's out, and we want to get him out of a tick over fight. It's been like a distance, quite a long time since he's had that win or defeat, whatever you want to call it. Everybody knows he was all done by there. But we want him back in the mix. We want him back to making the world contention. We believe he's up there as anybody, as good as anybody in the world really is. But we've got some big names already been speaking about amongst the team and his managerial team. But let's just get him active, winning again. And Sean McCombs, our plan is to mix him, get him in there with the big boys. Anybody who wants it, anybody at 10 stone, they can have it with him. And I think it'll be an absolute nightmare for anybody. And I mean, that's right at the highest level. I think he'll be hard to beat. But look, my job as a promoter is just to get him out active again and then start looking for them fights with his managerial team. And we've got a long-term agreement with him, which gives me a lot of comfort knowing I can invest in him and I will get some long-term relationship and something back down the line.
And another fighter that you've already been committed to for a long time, I'm sure a partnership that lasts for a long time as well, in Shaquille Thompson. You mentioned the world rankings that he's got right now, I believe as well. Hasn't he been ordered to face Tyler Denny in a British title eliminator? I believe I remember reading.
Yeah, that's been sanctioned and all by the British board. But look, I don't know if Tyler's going to go down that route. I don't know if Shaquille's the right fight for him. I'm not sure. That's a few months away yet before the kind of deadline on when it's meant to happen. But let's see. Look, Shaquille's got a task ahead of him. He wants to be back out in a few months, not fighting. He's another fighter who's been active with us. We had him 4 fights in 14 months. we're in the business of keeping people active and for signing and a commitment. I want to keep them busy. I want to keep them active. I just don't want to be a promoter who signs fighters and puts them on shelves and forget about them. And that's why I'm reluctant just to tie people up. My phone's constantly going, will you sign this kid? Will you sign that kid? I just don't want to be in the predicament where I'm holding back somebody's career. I'm holding somebody back because I can't get them out because I haven't got enough dates. So Shaquille's one of them we've kept active. I seriously rate Shaquille. I honestly think he's as dangerous as middleweight you're going to get. He's tall, southpaw, awkward, can punch extremely hard, can fight on the inside, got great range, got good heart. He's been you can go in the dogfight as well if you want. And yeah, he's got that cold blooded look about him. He looks got a serious look about him, Shaquille Thompson, and I think he'll be avoided. I labelled him as the most avoided middleweight in the world. But eventually, once he keeps climbing up that rankings, we'll have to force the position, and people will have to take Shaquille Thompson on.
Will this fight on June 28th, will this be a defence of the titles that he holds currently, or will this would be just another tick over before with those?
Due to the duration, because obviously this was never planned. We was always planning to go to Galway in Ireland. Due to the last minute thing, I don't think we're going to make titles. Get an opponent who's ready. Don't think it's going to happen. We don't need to force it. We've not got no like kind of restrictions to not fight for the titles. We're all right with the governing bodies. They understand it's only recently defended them, so it'll be a 8 rounder. Just get him out, and then let's see who can. But it's interesting times because a lot of fighters now ready just to push on to that big mix and big mix with the bigger boys and the bigger fights, and we are at that stage with a lot of the fighters.
Absolutely. And then also Hughie Fury back out as well. How many rounds is this fight for Hughie? Is this stepping up to
Hey,
8 now?
hey, listen, this is not gonna. I've seen some comments online. Oh, it's an easy night for you. This is not going to be an easy night. One of the things that I look for a promoter when I get opponents is how much they want this. Is do they do it for the money or they do it because they want to achieve? They want to do something. They want to cause an upset. And I can reassure you, this is not for the financial gain. This is a hungry Belgian who's only lost once, and that was in a Grand Prix tournament that you get told day before who your opponent is. So I see some comments, oh, he's lost on a 6th round. Yeah, but he's lost in a tournament where he didn't know who he was fighting, and he lost an undefeated fight. But this is a massive opportunity for him. Michael Pearton's going to come and he's going to want to cause an upset. And I've been talking to his managerial team, and they just said, I hope Hughie's ready. I go, well, of course he's ready. He wants to fight. So this is the fight that Hughie's got to be switched on, and he can't just coast through it like he has the last few fights. He's going to have to be on his game.
And obviously, if all goes well on June 28th for Hughie, is this where you'll, for the second half of the year, is that where you look to let him off the leash, start really targeting those
We
big?
were look, we were trying them big names there. They were negotiating with some huge names for this card even, and it didn't happen. And but there's one or two opponents that we have got, in conversation with, and we would like them. Me and Peter talk regular about. Look, Hughie needs to be putting them big fights, but he's making them and making them want it as well. People aren't queuing up for Hughie. That's the truth. They're not queuing up. There's a lot of heavyweights with certain promoters who are fighting each other and making great fights. So it's just got to be about right timing, and Hugh will get a huge night. But look, Michael Pearton's not going to be an easy pushover. I can reassure you that, and especially talking to his promotional team. And I spoke to Lou DeBella yesterday, actually, who works with Michael Pearton and promotes him. So he said, look, he's going to give Hughie a few problems, and he just kind of said that, and I could see read between the lines. It's not going to be a walkover job for Hughie. So let's see what Hughie's like. Is Hughie going to put an explosive performance on, which I think he needs to do, and I think he will do. Uh, let's see, June 28th, all in action live on the zone.
Well, you mentioned big names for Hughie Fury. One that I'm going to throw at you, and I know people have thrown at you in the past, but what we saw at the Copper Box Arena on May 17th gives the fight even more legs to stand on now with Dave Allen. I think probably the best knockout of 2025 so far in his last
Yeah.
fight. Um, we know that there's been conversations that Eddie Hearn's been talking about possibly fighting Deontay Wilder. But if you can get the financial side of things right, how open would you to be making Dave Allen versus Hughie Fury this year?
Yeah, I think it's a good fight for both of them to show what kind of levels they're at. Is Dave Allen still got that fire in his belly, which he clearly has with defeating Johnny Fisher? Is Hughie Fury still got that in him as well? I think it's a great fight for both of them. But like you said, Josh, when it comes to this level, it's the prize fighters, the heavyweights, the finances got to be right. And I'm sure if the finance are right, both men would take the fight on. Both are great men, good friends of mine. Obviously, Peter's a good friend. Dave's been a long-term friend of mine. But look, it's business and it's numbers, and I'm sure they make sense. If the numbers make sense, I'm sure the fight will happen.
Obviously, you mentioned being good friends with Dave Allen. Just how happy were you for him on May 17th when he knocked out Johnny Fisher?
Yeah, look, extremely happy. We talked to him regularly, but I was one of the few that knew that he'd be an handful. I've been around him a long time. I've took a few shots in sparring from him. I know how hard he hits. They say the last thing that goes is your power. And Dave Allen's always got that. He's always got that chance. He's got good boxing IQ. I felt like the old man Johnny Fisher there, use his experience, pulling him down and all the stuff that he does in sparring. I've seen him do for years. And listen, grateful. He deserves the chance. He gives a lot to his fighters. Dedicates a lot to his as a manager and a coach, and he's one of the good guys in boxing. I think who gives a lot for the sport, and it's nice that he's getting the recognition again, and also financially securing himself as well and his kids. And it's important because we're in the business where it's a hurt business, it's a dangerous business. A fight, you can legally kill yourself in this business as a fight. You're signing your life away, almost getting into that ring. You risk a lot, and for you to be financially secure from it and make sure you settle yourself financially, it's nice to see. And it's not it don't happen to all the fighters. Everybody can secure himself from this game, and I'm hoping Dave got some big nights ahead of him, and he can secure himself and invest the money right, and look back at boxing and thinking he's had some great days, but also secured his family and kids for life.
Well, you mentioned wanting to secure the future for himself. I'm sure a fight with Deontay Wilder at the O2 Arena would just do that. How would that fight go, in your opinion, if that fight is to get made for the end of the year? How,
I think Dave knocks him out.
what makes you think that Dave gets? Obviously, we see Wilder return at
I,
the end of
I,
this month.
Dave's got an extremely tough chin, and the only way Wilder would beat most people is by knocking him out. And what I've seen of Wilder against Joseph Parker, what I've seen in the last few, I just feel he's completely at end of his career, really is. And I feel like Dave has got enough ring craft. I say Dave's got a lot more ring craft than Wilder. He knows the game. He knows how to control the pace of the game. He knows how to hold. He knows how to cut the ring off. He knows when to take shots and when to do that. As long as Dave trains hard and he's on it hard, Dave Allen will knock out Wilder. I've got no doubt. He punches like a mule and he can take a shot and he knows. I think timing's everything in boxing. Dave Allen's on a high. I've seen him. He's been on it training. He's pumped up about life. He's buzzing at the moment. I talked to him regularly about that, and he's on it. And I don't know if Wilder's got that hunger. He's had them big nights, had the big paydays. Didn't really look well. I didn't don't look good in his last few fights whatsoever. And time's everything. I think if he come over, be a great. If I bring him to Sheffield, bring Wilder to Sheffield, and let Dave stick it on him there.
Just last two from me. A big fight that we saw, not quite done yet, but very close to being done, I'd presume. Moses Itauma steps up to face Dillian Whyte in August in Riyadh. A fight that I don't think a lot of us would have expected to have been made, but a great fight nonetheless. You excited to see Moses Itauma step up?
Yeah, I think he's a great talent, exceptional talent, isn't he? But I keep saying about Dillian Whyte and your Chisoras, you can't sometimes seem to write these guys off. They just come again and again and again. Chisora's one of them, Dillian's one of them, but you expect, Atamo, Moses Atamo, everybody talks so highly of him. He looks so kind of calm and I know he's with Ben Davison, and all, he's got a good team around him. And listen, he looks like he is the future heavyweight boxing. That's where he's looking. But look, it's still early stages yet. Got to see him in some tough fights. I like to see fighters in fights where they actually tested and on the back foot. Maybe even they've gone down or hurt themselves. What they do react like. You see, you learn a lot about a fighter then. And sometimes when you're just on the offensive, you can look extremely good. I'm not saying Moses won't look good, but I just like to see that as a fan. I like to see him on the back foot. I like to see pressure back on. How does he react? How's his skill set then? How does he compose? How's he mentally going to cope with that? A bit of pressure really put on his back foot. But listen, at the moment, he seems to be the star boy of heavyweight boxing, which is booming.
Right now, who do you make the favourite between Itauma and Whyte?
I'd probably say, according to form and going in, you probably think it depends how much Dillian White's got left in him. I don't know. He's not been obviously as active recently, but Dillian White's a dangerous man and all, and he's an old fox and he knows the game. And Moses still young and kind of not really been tested, but you'd probably favour towards Moses Itauma. But like I keep saying, don't write off the likes of your Dillian Whyte. Everybody's all punch hard, and they've still got that punch. As you've seen with Fabio Wardley when he wasn't going his way, and then he come out on the 10th round. Was it 10th round, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was 10th round.
Was it 10th round? And what a punch that was.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better myself. Just lastly from me, we saw some other big news come on Saturday night that Sky and Boxer will be parting ways now that the broadcast deal is over. How will Sky potentially leaving boxing affect the sport?
Leaving boxing, did
Yeah,
you say?
if
Sorry.
Sky are to leave, because we're not sure what the future is.
I don't think they will. I don't think they will. I think it's a great broadcaster. I think he'll continue to do some. I don't know what route they're going to go down. Obviously, you hear stuff all the time in boxing, but I'm sure they'll keep him there. They've been going for years and years and years, and I don't know if they're going to carry on working with boxing in some capacity. With Ben Shlomo, I think he's done a decent job there. He's coming young as a promoter, but I think he's delivered. He's given some good nights, big nights that I've been at ringside enjoyed. But look, I think they'll continue to. I think they'll definitely continue some kind of capacity. Don't know how. Yeah, of course, it'll be a massive blow as a boxing fan. You want to see as much boxing on different broadcasters as possible, but look, DAZN are really strong at the minute. We've got a great relationship with DAZN. They really back me, and that goes a long way for me. They back me when obviously they could have easily not. We're one of the few promoters actually backing and pushing, and we appreciate DAZN, and we've got a plan with them. I'm talking to them in a few weeks again, and we've got plans we want to do and things we want to try. So, look, it's great for boxing. Platform like Sky has always been there for years. Grew up watching it, and I'm sure they'll carry on. And look, it's good for the sport with few good broadcasters putting just different shows on.
Well, Izzy, I think that's a perfect place to leave it. Just lastly, any other announcements possibly coming soon, or just all focus on Hull before we announce the next few shows?
I'm at Holland this weekend watching a chap called Gradus Kraus, who I believe is one of the most exciting light heavyweights. This kid's got something special. I keep hearing it and hearing it, hearing it. And I was sat next to Bradley Skeet yesterday, and he was saying this guy's special, exceptional. Seen him close up at the gym, so I'm going there. Hopefully, he could be a GBM fighter end of this weekend. So that's what I am this weekend. Maybe one or two more signings, and yeah, we've got a busy plan. We've got a little bit of a break for summer, and then we've got a busy plan come August, September, and a lot of shows and one or two signings, and maybe a few surprises, as you know, GBM style pull out.
Absolutely, Izzy, top man. Really appreciate your time today, and we look forward to June 28th in Hull. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. Cheers.